So, how soon can you buy a car in Spain after getting residency in Spain? So, this is a question that we get asked a lot. It's come up again this week. So, I thought I'd do a quick video to explain. Okay, so how soon can you buy a car after you arrive in Spain? And there is a question regarding the NIE on this. So, first of all, let's run you through the process of buying a car in Spain. We will do a separate video on this as well. I've been promising to do it for ages and I haven't managed to get around to it, but we do need a separate video on the full process of buying a car. But the first thing, the principal thing is the paperwork that you're going to need to buy a car. So the first thing you need to buy a car is you definitely need to have an NIE number or proof of your NIE number, which is basically the main subject for this video. You're going to have somewhere to register the vehicle, and you're also going to have a passport, an ID document, or whatever from your country of origin. Okay, so there's a few different steps to buying a car. So first of all, as soon as you purchase a car, as I said, you're going to hand over your personal documents. There's a transfer of ownership process. Again, we're not going to go too much into it in this video, where you have to pay a transfer of ownership tax. That tax is then presented to the DGT, who are the people who issue the new ownership documents in your name. With a vehicle in Spain, you actually get two documents. You get one that's called a permiso de circulación, which is your ownership document issued by a DGT. And there's another document with a vehicle called a ficha técnica, which is the document that's used at the ITV, which is our technical inspection and safety inspection here in Spain. So when you go, you have to show that, or unless it's digital, believe it or not, nowadays, to pass the inspection. But I want to talk about the when and how and why people are having problems. And this is right at the beginning of your journey, because if you've never had an NIE number before and you land in Spain with your visa and you go and buy a car, then lots of people being told, hang on a minute, this isn't a valid NIE, or your NIE isn't registered. And in this video, I want to tell you why. Okay, then. So, the first of all, an NIE number is your número de identidad de extranjero. And if you had one before you had a visa issued or before you had residency in Spain, you might more than likely had a certificate that looks very similar to this. Okay, so that would, I'd say this certificate is what we call, there we go, an NIE certificate. This is definitely not a residency document. You can't use it as proof that you can stay in Spain at all. All right, but this is proof that you possess an NIE number. Now, this will be reflected in your visa. Now, when you come to buy a vehicle, okay, in Spain, if you have not registered your visa yet at the police station, at what we call the comisaria, okay, then you can use this document, if you had one before, to buy a vehicle as proof of your NIE. What you can't use is the visa reflected on the NIE number reflected on your visa. They just don't allow you to do that. All right. So if you went, for example, to a gestoria, to a concesionario, that's a place that sells cars, like, they call them concesionarios here, which are like Mercedes or Peugeot, for example, and you just gave them your visa, they just do not accept the NIE on the visa itself as proof, valid proof of the NIE. Okay, then. Now, but if you have this certificate or had one before, then they will accept that. A few occasions. Now, in theory, this certificate actually is only valid for 3 months. The certificate is, the NIE number itself is yours for the whole of your life, but the certificate itself is valid for 3 months. But we've never had any instances in Trafico where they've rejected it for being older than 3 months, because this is a true representation of your NIE number, and it never changes, right? So in the very, very unusual circumstance that the traffic authorities or the person who's acting on your behalf doesn't accept this document, you may also have to get it updated. Okay. So If you've only got your visa, you will have to wait, if you've never had an NIE number, until you've registered your visa, and then you have this document here. This document is a resguardo. Okay, I'm going to make it a bit smaller for you so you can see it. There we go. A resguardo is basically proof that you have registered your visa in Spain, and you can use this document to then buy a vehicle. This supersedes the NIE certificate. This is essentially your residency card until you get your TIE card. Okay. What is the problem with this document? The problem is that the people who are doing the transfers, people who are selling vehicles, do not understand that this vehicle is a representative of your NIE. Okay, that you use this for your NIE and proof of your NIE at the DGT. Okay, so this is a valid document at the traffic authorities to prove your NIE number. And a lot of the people who manage that process just do not understand that. And that is where a lot of the problems are coming, because once you've registered your visa, you should be able to use this as an proof of your NIE to buy a vehicle. If not, then you have to wait for this, albeit it's wrong. 40 days later, you will get your TIE card, which looks like this, and you can see there's where the NIE should be on that card, and then you can buy a vehicle. Okay, EU citizens, slightly different. If you're an EU citizen and you are registering with one of these green residency cards, if you've never had an NIE number before, you'll be given one on this card, and then you can buy a car. Okay, so this is where the confusion's coming. The confusion is coming in when people only have the visa in their hand. They come to buy a car. They've not had a previous NIE number. They have to wait to go past their visa appointment, their visa registration appointment, which we call a toma de huella, to then get the resguardo to be able to buy a car. That's the first sort of delay for people. What is the second delay? The second delay is when people arrive with their visas, and we have had it on a couple of occasions where basically companies, it might be import companies, it might be people who are dealing with customs, it might be people dealing with traffico, say this NIE isn't valid, it's not registered. What do they mean by that? It is valid. The NIE number on a visa is valid, but for you to be able to do any vehicle transfer, you would need to be registered with the tax office in Spain. Now, to register with the tax office, you have to fill out a document called a Model 030. A lot of the times when we're doing vehicle imports and it's people who've got an NIE for the first time, we actually have to get our accountant to do that for them before we can complete the vehicle import, for example, and get the tax-free waiver. If you literally land in Spain with a visa and the first NIE number you've ever had is on that visa, you would have to fill out one of these before you could buy a car. When you buy a car before you get your resguardo, or you might have to wait to get your resguardo to fill out one of these forms. And it's basically your registration with the tax office. So your NIE has to be registered with a tax office, and you have to have a NIE that is reflected in even an NIE certificate, a resguardo, a TIE card, or an EU residency card to be able to buy a vehicle in Spain. All right. Okay, I hope that's helped. A lot of people have asked me also if when you register your NIE, then it comes back with the Model 030 as registered. Can I use that? People have got away with it, but it's not correct. I'm going to put a link below and in the comments to the article that we wrote about the Model 030. Just bear in mind this when you're moving to Spain and you want to buy a vehicle, that you might not be able to do it straight away. And the most frustrating thing for me is the amount of arguments I have had with people who sell cars who say that this document isn't valid. It is valid. This is a valid document that represents your NIE number. But the problem is, if you're in someone's hands that doesn't understand that, doesn't matter how much I I scream down the phone and say it is a valid document. They don't believe me. You may have to wait for your TIE card. The good news is, and this is, let's finish on a positive note. The good news is that you can get, if you've got an NIE number, a justificante de circulación, a temporary document which allows you to drive for up to 30 days while you are going through the process of buying the vehicle. Okay. And anybody, like a traffic gestor, for example, should be able to issue this document and also extend this document if possible. So you can carry on driving your vehicle legally. You will be able to insure it as long as you've got an NIE number on your visa. And drive the vehicle, because don't forget, here in Spain we insure the car and not the person. A lot of the insurance then come with other conditions, like you must be over 25, you must have a valid driving license, etc. Check that with your preferred provider. But yeah, you should be able to get a temporary document which allows you to drive the vehicle. If you don't, it's because the person who's selling you the vehicle or the company who's doing the transfer don't want to issue it, because most gestories should be able to issue you a temporary justificante if you've got an NIE number while the rest of the paperwork is being sorted out. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. That video I'd like to dedicate to Jane, because poor Jane has been reminding me every Thursday for the last month and a half to do this video, because she needs it for our clients who are moving over. So there you go, Jane. You can stick that now in your email templates. Thank you so much for everything you do. And we will be back with more informative videos very soon.